Alright folks, and we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the Gaming Forecast. So let's see what's coming up between the week of February 19th to the 25th. Alright, on the 21st, you have just 3 games coming out. Atomic Heart for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Like a Dragon Ishin for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And 7 Doors for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 22nd, you have just 4 games coming out. Digimon World Next Order for Windows and Nintendo Switch, Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation 5, Kazuna Ai Touch the Beat for PlayStation 5, and Redemption Reapers for Windows, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation 4. Then on the 23rd, you have another 4 games coming out. Blood Bowl 3 for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Company of Heroes 3 for Windows. Grim Guardians Demon Purge for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And Raiden 3X Mikado Maniacs, releasing in Japan for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 24th, you have just 3 games coming out. Clive and Wrench for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for Nintendo Switch. And Octopath Traveler 2 for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. And that was your gaming forecast. Not bad, actually. Quite a lot of interesting stuff there. 2 that definitely have my attention, well, 3 actually, is Atomic Heart, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and Octopath Traveler 2. Those games definitely have my interest. If there's anything here that catches your fancy, please let me know down below. Also, remember that these dates are subject to change. It happens all the time. Some games get moved further ahead, some games get added. So keep on the lookout for that. Also, if you like any of the music in this week's episode, links are in the description. And with that being said, let's move on to our first topic. Alright, and first up, we've got to talk about Nintendo's Direct last week. Came right out of nowhere. I don't think anyone was really expecting it, and just Nintendo's like, boom, Direct tomorrow. Check it out. So yes, it came out, and the timing was also kind of bad because at the same time no one could live tweet. It was weird. For some reason you could tweet, but only if you scheduled it for like a minute. Like the minute later. I don't know. It was kind of... Twitter's having problems as usual. But anyway, let's get back to our Nintendo Direct. First announcement was, of course, Pikmin 4, which I kind of guessed was going to be mentioned. And, well, we got some more gameplay footage and a release date, which is July 21st. So mark your calendars down for that. We also got more news on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Expansion Pass, which includes a new character named Masha, the Lapidarist. I don't know. Honestly, I have Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I just haven't played it yet. So, anyway, that's for the Expansion Pass Volume 3, and that will be available February 15th. Actually, today, the day this episode airs. So, yeah, if you're looking forward to that, there you go. They also, I think, hinted at Volume 4. But, anyway, another surprise announcement really caught me off guard was the return of Samba de Amigo. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Samba is back, baby. It's been over 20 years since the last game, and no, I am not counting the Wii version because that's a remake of the original game. So yeah, Samba de Amigo, Party Central. Basically plays exactly the same. If you've never played Samba de Amigo, it's basically just a rhythm game with maracas. Well, the Dreamcast controller original had like maraca controllers, but since the Wii, they used the regular controllers. And in this case, they're using the Joy-Cons for that. And that's going to be available later this summer. Next up, of course, was Fashion Dreamer, which, yeah, you can probably tell just I have no interest in it. Like, that just, I don't know. That's available 2023, so catches your fancy, there you go. Next up, Dead Cells is getting Castlevania DLC. Nice to see Castlevania coming back in at least some form. But anyway, they also announced Tron Identity, which, I don't know. Like, I love the original Tron movie, but everything since then has been kind of, I don't know. We also, another one that surprised me was Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. That's right. They remastered it, and it's getting re-released on the Switch. Good. Ghost Trick was a great game, and it's one that just got completely overshadowed. So, once again, I highly recommend that. Also, Deca Police, which is a brand new game from Level 5. Which honestly, I haven't really heard from Level 5 in quite a while, so I'm glad to see that they're, still doing around making games. And that's going to come out 2023. We got more information on Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, which seems like a very interesting take on the series. Definitely one I'm looking forward to, and that will be available March 17th. Next up, we also have news on Splatoon 3's Expansion Pass DLC, and Wave 1 will be the return of Inkopolis. That's right, the original location. Now, I'm not sure if that includes, like, return of original stages and such, but definitely glad. It's weird for me that they're talking about retro when it comes to the first Splatoon, because it's like, that was 2015, and God, I can't believe that was almost 8 years ago. What the fuck, man? I remember when that game was first announced. So, yeah, that's going to be available spring 2023, and they also hinted at another expansion pass called Side Order, so which will be available sometime later on, possibly this year. Who knows? Next up, we have a new Mickey Mouse game, Illusion Island. Now, the first time when I heard that name, I was like, a brand new Illusion game? Holy shit. Now, I'm not sure if it is a brand new Illusion game, but you damn well know that they use that name for the nostalgia purposes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, back in the old days of the Sega Genesis, Sega got somewhat the rights to do Mickey Mouse games, and they put out two: Castle of Illusion and Land of Illusion. Now, I don't think they've ever done another Illusion game since then. They did remake the original Castle of Illusion, though. But I'm not sure if this is a continuation of that or not, but that's going to be available July 28th, and it's going to be a co-op game. So, yeah, you get to play as Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy. So, yeah, it seems like an interesting game. Of course, we also got more information on Fire Emblem Engage's expansion pass, which includes past characters such as Camilla, Chrom and Robin, and Veronica. Then they had a new game called Harmony: The Fall of Reverie, which I don't really know much about it. They didn't really show much in terms of gameplay footage, so I didn't really get it. But anyway, that's going to be coming out June 2023. And then we have, of course, Octopath Traveler 2, and I'm really, really excited for this. You see, I've been playing the first one because I never actually finished it. I got stuck in a couple of places, so I've been trying to get through it as quick as possible. And you can definitely tell I'm totally looking forward to the sequel because it looks just as good as the first one. Next up, we also got We Love Katamari Reroll. That's right, the sequel from the PS2 is getting a remaster, and good, because it's also just as good, if not a little bit better than the first game. So glad to see that. Also, if you've never played the original Katamari, it's also getting a game trial that is now available, which will be available on February 20th. So, between the 20th and the 26th. So if you've never played the original one, definitely go check that out. Next up, of course, we also got Sea of Stars, which is a prequel to a previous game that I had never really heard of, but what caught my attention, because it's an action RPG, is the fact that they have guest composer Yasunori Mitsuda doing some tracks. And the moment they announced that, I'm like, okay, you've got my attention. Okay. Yasunori Mitsuda, for those who don't know, is the composer for Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Xenogears, and Mario Party. Yeah, if you didn't know that, yeah, he composed Mario Party, but he also composed Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3. So you can probably figure out why this game caught my attention. But next up, we also got a new game called Omega Strikers, and it seems like a cross between air hockey and Rocket League. It has that very Rocket League feel to it, so definitely seems like a fun game. You know what it reminds me a bit of, because it has a very anime look to it? There was a PS1 game I had called Air Hockey, and it was like, again, it was air hockey, but it had all these anime characters in it. It was very weird. But anyway, that one looks interesting. Next up, if you're a fan of the Etrian Odyssey series, I've got good news for you because all 3 games are getting remastered and released in one collection. That's right, Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection is coming out for the Nintendo Switch and includes HD remasters of all 3 games, and that'll be available June 1st. But then the next announcement was one that really got me excited, and that was finally an update on Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, something I was hoping for, and we finally got our first information on it. It is actually coming out April 21st, almost a whole year after it was supposed to come out. So, you know what? Look, I understand why Nintendo delayed it when it first came out, because it was like, what, less than a month after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, so I can get that, but by the end of the year, they should have just realized, yeah, you know what, this war ain't gonna end anytime soon. They should have just released it before Christmas, but I'm glad to see the game is actually getting released anyway, so yeah. Totally on set for that. I have it pre-ordered, so I'm gonna get that day one. Next up, we also have an update on Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which is going to get a epilogue called Magolor Epilogue: The Interdimensional Traveler, and this time it follows Magolor on his way to get back to Dreamland. And that'll be coming out February 24th. We then had a brand new update on the Nintendo Switch Online, and I'm sure you all know about this because you're all probably playing it already. And that is, of course, the addition of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games to the service. That's right. Now, if you only have the regular Switch Online, you get over 9 Game Boy Original and Color games, including Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Gargoyle's Quest, Kirby's Dream Land, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX, Metroid 2 Return to Samus, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, Tetris, and of course Wario Land 3. Now, I've downloaded the games myself and I've been playing them a bit, and you know what? I really like how they handled it. You basically can choose between 3 different types of Game Boy filters, such as the original Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Color. And I actually like to mix it up depending on the game. So, for example, if I'm playing Super Mario Land 2, I like to play it with the Game Boy Color filter, and Kirby's Dream Land with the original Game Boy and such. Nintendo also announced future games that will be added to it, such as both Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Ages, Pokemon the Trading Card Game, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which I find very interesting because that's one of the few Game Boy Colors games that actually has. Now, if you have the Switch Online Expansion Pass, not only do you get original Game Boy, but also Game Boy Advance titles. And so far, there's only 6 games available at launch, including Kuru Kuru Kururin, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap, and WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games. And they also gave us some more info on upcoming titles, including Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Metroid Fusion, Fire Emblem, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and Golden Sun. So, look, here's the thing, okay? I've been very apprehensive about getting the expansion pass because I didn't like it when they first released it. I felt like it was overpriced, but now they're adding a lot more value to it. Now I'm starting to get really tempted. It might seem that this Switch Online announcement was kind of out of the left field, but I think there's a reason why. It's because of the Wii U and 3DS eShops shutting down. Remember, these games are available on those platforms. So when the services for those consoles shut down, you won't be able to get any of these games. And so I think Nintendo kind of just put them out there just for the sake of availability. Next up, we also had another surprising announcement. Metroid Prime, the original game, has been remastered. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, it looks gorgeous. Retro Studios did a fantastic job remastering Metroid Prime. And, you know, I'm really glad to see that Nintendo has tried to make it more and more available because, unfortunately, you know, a lot of these games, the prices go up, and especially if you want to get, like, the Metroid Prime trilogy. That thing has jumped up in price so much that it's basically unavailable for many people. So, if you've never played Metroid Prime, highly recommend you get this one. The digital version is already available, and the physical version will be available February 22nd. I'm actually considering getting it, even though I already own several versions of the game. One thing I do like is that they have dual analog controls, but also you can also play the original controls, which is honestly the only way I could actually play it. Next up, we have Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which seems to be from the same people who did the Danganronpa series, which honestly I've never really played and I have no interest in it. But anyway, that's coming out June 30th. Next up, of course, we have Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Yes, a forgotten RPG series that is absolutely fantastic. Getting an HD Remaster about friggin' time, if you ask me. And that'll be available later this summer. Then we have Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time, coming in 2023, which is from Level 5. And then that was followed up by another announcement for a series we haven't heard from in a very long time. Professor Layton, baby. That's right. Professor Layton and the New World of Steam, which is coming sometime later this year. Yes. Fuck yeah. Layton is an awesome series, so I'm glad to see the Professor is coming back. Next up, we have an update on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because the Booster Pack Wave 4 has been officially revealed, and it includes a brand new course based on Yoshi's Island. There is, of course, also a brand new character, Birdo. That's right. Who hasn't appeared in the series since Double Dash. So there you go. And that'll be available sometime in spring of this year. Of course, if you have the expansion pack, you won't have to worry about it. It's going to come with it. Next up, we also had a whole collage of games such as Minecraft Legends, which is coming out April 18th. We had Blanc, which I already talked about last week on the Gaming Forecast. It's available right now. We also have Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, which that's going to be friggin' awesome. Have a Nice Death, which is coming out March 22nd. WBSC eBaseball Power Pros, which is available now. Then you have Disney Dreamlight Valley, which will, of course, have an update in April. And then Tales of Symphonia Remastered, which is coming February 17th in a couple of days. Of course, then they ended off the Direct with the big announcement, which of course was Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We finally have an update, and the game looks absolutely amazing. I mean, the original Breath of the Wild looked great, but this definitely looks like a step up graphically. Now, they of course announced that there's going to be two versions of this game. There's going to be a standard and, of course, a collector's edition. And here's the thing. The collector's edition looks really nice. Comes with an art book, a steel book, some little pin things or whatever. But what got me was, oh yeah, and there's going to be an amiibo. I forgot to mention that. But they also announced the prices of these things. Now, the standard edition is like $120, $130. Okay, that's about expected. The standard edition, however, is what got me. $69.99. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Nintendo is charging $70 fucking bucks for a standard edition. Now, here's the thing about the recent push for $70 games, okay? I don't like it at all. But the thing is that a lot of the games that are really pushing it are current-gen games. You know, games for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, okay? So the industry, in their mind, can somehow justify that. I still think it's bullshit, but it's an excuse, all right? What we're talking about here is a game for the Nintendo Switch, a console that is going on 6 years old. I don't care how improved this is over the original, especially since it looks like it's reusing assets from the original, but charging $70 fucking dollars? Nintendo, are you fucking crazy? $70 goddamn dollars for a game on a 6-year-old console. Okay, and don't give me that shit about, well, the OLED system. The OLED system is essentially the exact same thing, just with a prettier screen. That's it. Okay? Nintendo, go fuck yourself. I am not, look, I love this series, but I am not going to pay $70 goddamn dollars for a brand new Zelda game. That is completely ridiculous, especially for a game on a 6-year-old console. You are fucking crazy, and I'm putting my foot down on this, okay? I was excited for Tears of the Kingdom. It looked amazing. It looked great. I always loved the Zelda series, but this, no, I'm not going to do it. And unfortunately, it's going to sell. People are going to buy it because they're Because unfortunately, you have a bunch of people who just consume product and just get excited for next product. And it's a damn shame, okay? If the industry wants to continue pushing $40 games, honestly, they deserve another game crash. 1983 Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Bring it on, baby. I am totally for it. If this is how the industry wants to be, if they want to continue pushing $70 games, then fuck them. They deserve another crash. So, yeah, you know what? That put the real downer on this entire thing. Almost everything else in this Direct, I thought was awesome. I was really excited for it. But then that happens, and they make the announcement of $70 for the standard edition. I'm like, Nintendo, you fucked it. You totally ruined it. No, I'm not getting Tears of the Kingdom. You know, I'll wait until later on when there's like a Black Friday deal or something. I am not getting this game. I'm not paying $70 goddamn dollars for a brand new game for a 6-year-old console. That's ridiculous. That's like if, I don't know, Sony decided to charge like $60 for God of War 2 in 2007. All right? Like, to me, it's just totally ridiculous. It's pointless, and I'm putting my foot down on this shit. So there's a lot of stuff in this Direct that I was excited for, but that ruined it for me. But anyway, guys, I think I've talked long enough. Most of this episode is just me talking about the Direct. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
ゼルダの伝説出るついに出るゴージャス今度の冒険リアル君もすぐに体験憎いでやんすね昆虫症高画質の謎解きアクション戸惑うことなくのめり込もうもちのロンスーパーファミコンと真剣勝負今宵もゼルダは最高潮スーパーファミコンゼルダの伝説ついに出る
All right, folks, we're back. And first up in our next round of stories, I want to talk about Ubisoft for a bit because it appears that they're going to try and tackle toxic behavior in online games. That's right. Apparently, they're developing a new system to look at and take action against people in online games that are acting toxic. Okay, and apparently this involves getting the Northumbria police in on the whole thing. That's right. Apparently, they're going to monitor how people act in games, and then if it's when it comes to extreme cases, they're going to fast track that information to the police, who will then handle it from there. Now, here's the thing. I understand this when it comes to behaviors like doxing and swatting. That I completely understand, because that can get people people killed. There have been cases in which people have been killed for doxing and swatting. And so, yes, I understand getting the police involved. However, I think going after people for stuff like offensive banter, stuff like racism, sexism, all that kind of stuff, I think that might be going a little too far. All right, because here's the thing, okay? People banter in online games. It just happens. It's been the way of the things have gone for the past couple of years. People play games, they get themselves all worked up, and they need to kind of release that all that anger and such. And it just happens. It is the way it is. So I think getting the police involved in that regard is a bit over the top. Sometimes I honestly forget just how authoritarian some European countries can get when it comes to speech. If you can't tell by the way I'm talking, I'm not exactly European. I'm from America, New Jersey, born and raised, baby. But the thing is, here, obviously we have free speech. It's not just a principle, it is ingrained in our Bill of Rights. And other than the positive of the fact that people can speak out against their government when, they're being authoritarian fuckheads, one of the great things about it, and what I think is definitely important, is the fact that when you have free speech, you develop thick skin. Because guess what? You're going to come across assholes in your life. That's just how the way things are, okay? And when you can when you get offended by something, you simply just kind of deal with it. Nothing happens. You don't burst into flames. You don't, the sky doesn't come falling. You just simply say, go fuck yourself, and walk away. And that's really what happens when you get offended by something. You develop thick skin. And I think, honestly, by trying to get police involved and to persecute people for saying things that offend you, you don't actually develop as a person. You don't just develop thick skin. And I think that's not healthy for a society. Look, I'm not saying things are perfect here. Obviously they're not. We still have people who get offended by every fucking thing. But you know what? I think it's better for a society to develop a thicker skin and to be faced with people who are complete assholes instead of being sheltered from them. Otherwise, how else are you going to handle the real world when it comes knocking at your door ready to smack you right in the fucking face? Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, I want to talk a bit about Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I did talk about it last week, before it came out, and how there was a huge boycott that completely backfired because pre-orders were up on all platforms. Well, the game is out, and so far, it's doing incredibly well. Not only is it the biggest launch for a Harry Potter game since the original Sorcerer's Stone all the way back in 2001. By the way, great game on the PlayStation. Anyway, but also the first week sales are up 80% in the UK, which, as it turns out, has also beaten Elden Ring's record last year. It also apparently did really well on Steam because at one point it actually reached a peak of over 489,000 concurrent players. And then there's Twitch. Apparently, on Twitch, I think on day one, this game had over 1.3 million viewers. Okay? Beating the previous record set by Cyberpunk 2077 with 1.14 million concurrent viewers. So, yeah, to say that this game is a success is understatement. But it also shows that the boycott against it has completely and utterly failed. And what did I tell you, folks? I saw this shit 20 years ago when it came to GTA. You had all of these moral busybodies screeching about how the game was violent and it's a murder simulator and it needs to be removed. And what happened? GTA became a worldwide phenomenon. Look at Hogwarts Legacy. Okay, you had all these people pushing and trying to get the game removed and trying to derail it and boycott it, and they completely fucking failed. Instead, the game became a massive success. Who could have seen that coming? Of course, just because the boycott has completely failed doesn't mean it's going to stop. And you already have a bunch of people that are trying to pressure streamers and YouTubers and outlets to either give it low scores or to not stream it or talk about it at all. For example, Hassan Piker said on a stream a couple of days ago that he wants to play it, but he's afraid of the backlash from his fan base. And look, I'm not the biggest fan of Hassan, and I do kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, this is the audience he fostered. You know, he fostered this attitude and that you should pressure people into not playing or supporting certain ideas and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, bro, I kind of feel bad for you, but at the same time, you this is the Frankenstein monster you created, okay? Like, you created this, it's kind of your fault. But apparently, there was also an attempt to try to pressure streamers into not playing it because some asshole actually created a site that tracked Twitch streamers that played the game. Yes, there's a site called HaveTheyStreamedThatWizardGame.com that launched on February 6th, and it listed every streamer that had played this game. Well, apparently the list only lasted for a few hours because it lasted from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. when the developer of the site decided to shut it down, which honestly it shouldn't have existed at all. But this guy Sam Gibbs, who was responsible for this, just thought it would put pressure and stuff like that, and he decided to get rid of it because he realized that, oh wait a minute, it'll also be used to harass small streamers. So on one hand, it's a good thing that he removed it, but on the other hand, he's a complete asshole for even creating the site in the first place. Especially when you have a whole bunch of streamers that aren't even from the UK or the West at all, playing this game and have no understanding of what the hell is even going on. Okay? You have Japanese streamers playing this game who are just completely out of the loop on the controversy around it. And even then, it's a non-controversy. It's so fucking stupid. Folks, if there's one thing that I think these people need to learn, it's that the more you try to drum up controversy about something, the more likely people are going to play or watch or do whatever with that thing. You know what I mean? Like, people, they tried doing this in the 90s when it came to games like Doom and Night Trap and Mortal Kombat, and it didn't work. Okay, maybe on Night Trap it worked because that was a shit game, but Mortal Kombat and Doom? Fuck no. People went out and actually bought the games. And the same thing happened with GTA and Manhunt. The more you try to push a controversy, the more you try to get people not to watch something or to play something, the more it will backfire in your face. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these people trying to push this boycott were like the children of those people trying to boycott GTA and San Andreas, you know? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, we've got to talk about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom once again, because we've got an update on the $70 price tag. Recently, Digital Trends got into contact with a spokesperson and asked him if this is going to be the standard from now on. And according to them, they said no. We determine the suggested retail price for any Nintendo product on a case-by-case basis. Now, technically this does seem to be the case because Pikmin 4 you can pre-order it right now and it's listed at $60, not $70. So it does seem to be that Nintendo is not going to do $70 for every game. But even then, I don't see why this is worth $70. Once again, you're talking about a game releasing on 6-year-old hardware that, from what I'm seeing, is reusing assets from the first game. I don't see how that costs an extra $10. I think it's just completely ridiculous, and no matter how much Nintendo tries to sell me on it, I am not spending $70 on a Zelda game. Fuck that. In fact, I will never spend $70 on a single game. Not unless it's some sort of like special collector's edition that includes a ton of cool shit. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's just a bit ridiculous. I don't see why this is $70. I think Nintendo is... Here's the thing, okay? This is what you could call mission creep, alright? Nintendo they're testing the waters, and when people start giving them money, they're going to then do it even more and more and more, okay? It's that old saying, when you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. We've seen this in the gaming industry countless times. I remember when DLC was first introduced, and they pitched it to us as, oh, well, you'll be able to download expansion packs for console games. Now, understand that expansion packs were pretty big for what they were. So we thought, oh, wow, we'll be able to download expansion packs for consoles. Nope, we never considered the fact that we would be nickeled and dimed, alright? Loot boxes and microtransactions were sold to us by smaller studios that were like, hey, we're not, a major publisher. We can't, for us having a subscription model ain't exactly a good, reasonable model for us. So here, we'll give you the game for free and we'll have all these little cosmetic items for like $1 or $2. But then that got abused by major third parties who started doing that with full price $60, multiplayer and single player games. So this is why I say when you give the industry an inch, they take a mile. Don't give in to this. Hold the line and keep your wallet shut. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
This is Rayman. This is a man called Ray. Rayman is the star of the action-adventure game Rayman 2. Ray is not. Rayman can shoot, swim, swing, fly, and even water ski. Ray cannot. Rayman has friends and enemies in dozens of epic worlds. Ray has a sister in Florida. So, remember, it's Rayman, not Ray. Rayman 2 for PC and Nintendo 64.
Alright folks, we're back, and first up in our next round of stories, we've got to talk about the Metroid Prime Remaster, which I've actually heard really good things about. I saw a review from Digital Foundry, and it looks like they did a fantastic job with it. But it appears that there's a bit of an issue when it comes to the credits, because apparently the remaster did not include the original game credits. Yeah, instead, it only gives full credits to the people who worked on the remastered, and when it comes to the original developers, it simply says, based on the work of Metroid Prime, original Nintendo GameCube and Wii versions, development staff. That's it. It just credits them as the development staff, not individually. And on Twitter, this was actually pointed out by many of the original development staff. For example, Zoid Kirsch, who was the senior gameplay engineer for Retro Studios on Metroid Prime, mentioned it as well. I think he was like the first one to actually point it out. You've also had Jack Matthews, who was the former tech lead on Metroid Prime, actually the whole series. He also pointed it out. So yeah, it's pretty damn shameful in my opinion, and definitely something that is downright just fucked up. You know, the thing is that, remember, this is a remaster. It's not a complete remake. There are still some assets, code, and art in that remaster that was not created for the remaster. You know, it's from the original game. So the fact that they're using that without crediting those who had originally created it, it's just a downright dick thing to do. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time. This seems to be happening with a lot of other remakes and remasters. For example, Shadow of the Colossus and the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy both did not have full credits for the original staff. And I don't know why, you know, because this is, keep in mind, we're talking about a game from the early 2000s, okay? We're not talking about a game from the 80s, back when most companies had policies where developers could not be credited under their full names, but could only be credited under their nicknames. It was a practice done specifically to prevent talented developers from being sniped by other companies, because unfortunately that was an issue. Because of that, the developers of games like the original Castlevania and Metal Slug, half of them are still unknown to this day. So yeah, this whole thing is dickish. I think Nintendo should update the remaster to include the full staff credit, instead of just this shitty, you know, like, oh, thanks to the development staff. What kind of thanks is that? Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, we've got to talk about Team Fortress 2. Now, there's a game we haven't heard from in a really long time. And why are we talking about it? Well, it appears that Valve is calling all Steam Workshop creators. That's right, they put out a blog post basically saying that they're planning a big update for the summer, for a summer event this year. And they are asking all of them to submit stuff for this update by May 1st. Now, here's the interesting thing. We haven't had an update for Team Fortress 2 in a long time. Actually, well, technically the last one we had was October. But keep in mind, we've had nothing but Scream Fortress updates since 2018. There hasn't been anything other than Scream Fortress in like the last 5 years. So, yeah, it's been a while. And I think it's about damn time that we actually got a... something other than just Halloween, just annual Halloween stuff. So, you know, I'm kind of amazed at the fact that Team Fortress 2 is still going, and the fact that, like, even though Valve doesn't do much with it anymore, they're still updating it. They're still adding stuff, even if it's like little tiny, you know, annual stuff, and that's it. Still, though, I'm glad to see that they're at least planning something major for this year, you know. Especially when you consider the fact that we are heading into the 20th anniversary of the Source engine. Yeah, that's right. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of Source. We are 1 year away from Counter-Strike Source and Half-Life 2 turning 20 years old. God, I feel ancient. But anyway, so if you're a Steam Workshop creator and you want to contribute something to this big summer update, then by all means go and do it. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and for our last story, we got to talk about Sega and Yoko Taro. Now, a couple of weeks ago, they teased a brand new collaboration, and it appears we finally have a look at what it is. And apparently, it's a brand new mobile game called 404 Game Reset. Now, here's the kicker. It's apparently a game that basically reimagines classic Sega games as anime girls. No, I am not making this up. It's literally, they have these anime girls that are based on various Sega games like Virtua Fighter, Virtua Cop, and Afterburner, and Outrun. What? Yeah. Now, we don't really have much in terms of gameplay, and the video they show basically just talks about the characters and their inspirations and all this kind of stuff. So it doesn't really give you any sort of idea of what the game is going to be about or how it's going to play, but it's sure weird, okay? But you know what it reminds me of? A couple of years ago, there was a thing called Sega Hard Girls, which, no, surprisingly, is not a porn. Instead, it was like this multimedia project where they reimagined Sega consoles as anime girls. No, I am not making this up. They had one based on the Dreamcast, the Saturn, the Mega Drive, the Master System, Game Gear. They even had anime girls based on like the VMU and the Sega CD and the 32X. Like, pretty crazy shit. But unfortunately, it kind of died out like 10 years ago, so it didn't really last long. But anyway, I'm not sure about this game. I don't know much about the gameplay, but it seems I find it to be a very interesting concept of doing anime girls as Sega games as anime girls. And you know what? I'm just gonna say right now, I call dibs on Outrun. All right, probably my favorite arcade game of all time. If you didn't know that from the intro and outro of this show. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
気分がビュンビュン走り出す16ビットのファンティークルーズあのアウトランがメガドライブから新登場
All right, folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. Remember, if you like any of the music in this week's episode, links are in the description. And with that being said, I'll see you next week. And remember to keep gaming.